Part 1 begins at the edge of known space, in a region everyone simply calls the frontier. It is not a dangerous place by itself. Most of the time, the space here is silent, calm, and almost beautiful. Stars glow like soft lamps in dark stretches. Of space feel endless. But recently, something unseen has been growing here tension. And most people living near this border can feel it without needing sensors or reports. They feel it in the way the patrol ships move slower, the way messages from Earth become shorter, and the way people look at the empty sky a little differently. Along this distant border lives a mix of human settlers, traders, and workers. Many of them came here to build a new life with more open space, less noise, and fewer rules. They farm small stations, run mining ships, fix satellite networks, and teach children under artificial domes. Life here is simple but peaceful. No one imagined that one day their quiet home would suddenly become the center of attention for the entire galaxy. That tension begins with a rumor. It spreads from one outpost to another in soft voices, through radio channels, and in short encrypted messages. The rumor says that the Galaxy Empire has started to move closer, slowly but surely. Most people have heard of the Empire. It is old, powerful, and made of many alien species who follow a strict system. To them, expansion is normal. They push borders almost every century, absorbing new regions without much resistance. They've done it so many times that they don't even pretend to hide it. Humans have dealt with them before, never openly, never face-to-face in a serious way, but enough to know the Empire views young civilizations as harmless and unimportant. Humans are not exactly new to the galaxy anymore, but compared to the Empire, they are still small. Most of the Empire believes humans shouldn't be taken seriously. But Terran Command, the main authority of humanity's space operations, sees something the settlers cannot. They track every large movement near the frontier. They study the Empire's slow approach, their growing fleet, their new listening posts, and their sensor pings. Terran analysts gather in silent rooms, watching screens glow with numbers and lines, predicting where danger may come from. And slowly, a picture forms, a picture no one likes. The Empire is not just drifting closer. It is preparing to step inside human-protected territory. One morning, long before the local suns rose over the frontier stations, Terran Command sends out a calm but firm broadcast. Every human ship, every station, every colony, small or big, receives the same message. It is clear and simple, without fancy words or indirect meaning. Terran sectors are not to be crossed. This is an official notice to all external forces. People across the frontier pause. They read or hear the message again. Some feel confused. Why today? Why so direct? Others feel a growing worry in their stomachs. They know such an open warning is rare. Terran Command usually keeps things quiet to avoid panic. But this time, they send it to the entire galaxy within hours. The message reaches the Empire's diplomats, fleets, and leadership. The first reaction is laughter. In their grand halls and long glass rooms, many of them discuss it as if it were a joke. They say things like, "Humans are bluffing," or "They don't have the strength to enforce this." They remind one another that humans still control only a small part of space, but behind the noise and arrogance of these leaders, there is one quiet observer, an older Empire advisor, a person who has been watching humanity for years. They remember the early reports, how humans build fast, adapt quickly, and learn from every challenge. They remember the stories of human explorers who kept going even after hardships that would have made other species give up. They remember how humans protected weaker neighbors, even when they had nothing to gain. This advisor tries to remind Empire leaders that humans don't bluff. They prepare. But their warning is ignored. Back at the frontier, the response from Humans is very different. People talk about the broadcast long into the night. Workers stop their shifts early. Families gather inside their living quarters. Patrol pilots sit quietly inside their ships, rechecking systems, even if everything works perfectly. The atmosphere is heavy, but something else is there too: unity. Everyone understands one thing. If Terran Command spoke this clearly, something serious must be coming. A young technician working at a relay station looks out the window and sees the stars glowing with their usual light. Nothing looks different, but inside he feels something changing. A trader living in a small transport ship looks at her children sleeping and silently wonders if she should move them away for safety. A group of miners share stories during dinner, pretending things are normal, but their eyes keep drifting to the alert screen on the wall. Everyone feels the same uneasy calm. Meanwhile, inside Terran Command headquarters on Earth, high-level officers and analysts gather in a large room filled with holographic maps. Blue lines mark human borders. Red dots show Empire ship movements. The officers speak in calm but firm voices. They know they've stepped into a delicate situation. If they appear weak, the Empire will push harder. If they react too strongly, they might trigger a conflict that nobody wants. Human diplomats try to open communication channels, hoping to remind the Empire that peaceful solutions are still possible. They use polite language, careful phrases, and respectful tone. But every message they send comes back with the same pattern. The Empire refuses to give a clear answer. They dodge questions, delay meetings, and pretend the problem doesn't exist. Their silence says enough. Days pass, and the Empire's ships come closer to the frontier. Not enough to cause a crisis, but enough for Terran Command to worry. They drift near human outposts, not crossing the line officially, but making their presence impossible to ignore. Locals send report scans detected, lights seen in the distance, foreign signals brushing against their systems. Terran Command collects every report, studying patterns, timing, and direction. Then, one afternoon, an Empire patrol ship stops near the border and sends a strange message. They claim they are simply doing navigation training, but their position is too close, their timing too perfect. It feels more like a test. They want to see how humans will react. Terran Command sends a polite but firm reply. Maintain distance. Frontier boundaries are active. The Empire ship does not move for hours. It just floats there, a silent presence that makes every human station nervous. Terran patrol ships quietly shift into a defensive formation, not aggressive, just ready. Human officers watch every movement of the Empire ship, almost holding their breath. Later that night, a misunderstanding takes place, not a violent one, not harmful, but enough to raise alarms. A human patrol vessel attempts to adjust its position, and for a moment, both ships drift slightly closer than intended. No one fires, no one speaks out of line, but the brief moment sends a message on both sides. For Terran Command, it confirms that the Empire is testing them. For the Empire, it proves that humans are alert, ready, and not easily pushed aside. What the settlers don't know is that Terran Command saw this coming. They read old Empire patterns, listened to hidden transmissions, and studied tiny shifts in ship routes. They knew the Empire would try a small test before any major move. And now that small test has arrived. The Empire's leaders meet again, this time with less laughter. Some still believe humans will eventually step back. They say humans are emotional, too new, too hopeful. But others, including the quiet advisor, warn that humans are not like the smaller civilizations the Empire has absorbed. Humans defend their boundaries, not because they want control, but because they want safety and stability for their people. That night, across the frontier, lights from human stations dim as people rest, but not peacefully. A mother holds her child. A little longer. A retired pilot cleans his old helmet, even though he hasn't flown in years. A teacher sits in front of a small screen, watching news updates instead of preparing the next day's lesson. Everyone knows something is coming, but they don't know when. Out in deep space, far from the crowded human settlements, a lone Terran long-range ship drifts quietly. Its crew watches the Empire's movement through the glass screens. They speak, softly, calmly, as if louder voices might disturb the silence of space. They trust Terran command, but they know one thing for certain. The frontier has changed forever. By the end of the week, the entire galaxy knows about Terran command's warning. Some smaller civilizations worry for humans, fearing the Empire will crush them. Others feel hope, thinking maybe humans will stand firm in a way others couldn't. The Empire prepares for the next move, and humans brace themselves. Even though no battle has begun, the first step has already been taken. The frontier is no longer just a border. It has become a line that will decide the future of two civilizations. Part 2 takes place a few days after Terran Command's first warning, and tension around the frontier grows quietly, almost like a slow storm forming far away. People living in the human settlements try to continue their daily routines, but peace no longer feels the same. There is a sense that the galaxy is watching them now. Every passing ship, every message, every unusual light in the sky makes people pause and wonder if today is the day something changes. The Empire's presence becomes impossible to ignore. Their ships no longer pretend to be passing by. They stop near the border and stay for long periods, as if measuring every tiny movement humans make. Some ships run slow scans along the frontier, sweeping sensors across nearby human outposts. It is not hostile, but it is not friendly either. It feels like someone standing too close, staring without speaking. Frontier settlers send short, worried messages to Terran Command. A worker from a mining station reports an Empire vessel drifting so close that equipment readings become unstable. A farmer living on a small outpost says strange signals cause their communication system to flicker. A repair crew traveling between stations says they spotted an Empire ship shining a soft blue light toward them, scanning their engines. None of these things cause damage. No one gets hurt. But every incident feels like pressure building slow. Steady and intentional. Terran Command gathers these reports. Their officers sit around long tables, reviewing the information. They know what the Empire is doing. This is an old tactic: test the boundary, push a little at a time, and see when the other side reacts. Humans have studied this behavior for years, and now they are facing it directly. But Terran Command also knows they need to be careful. A single wrong response could be interpreted as aggression. They cannot start something, but they also cannot back down. So they choose every step with calm precision. Patrol ships are instructed to stay alert, but avoid sudden moves. Communication. Teams review every message twice before sending it. Analysts track the movement of every Empire ship, marking patterns on screens with glowing markers. And diplomats prepare polite responses, trying to keep the situation from spiraling out of control. The frontier itself becomes strange. Normally, it is a place where only a few ships travel each day. But now, human vessels move back and forth more frequently, making sure settlers feel protected. Empire ships hover at the invisible borderline, watching closely. If someone were to view the entire region from above, it would look like a quiet standoff. Two sides waiting for the other to blink. In one settlement, a group of mechanics gathers. In their workshop, pretending to work while actually listening to distant radio chatter. A couple of traders sit in a small cafe on their station, watching news updates on a silent screen. A family living near the frontier teaches their children how to hide in reinforced rooms, just in case something unexpected happens. No one wants panic, but everyone feels a weight pressing down on their thoughts. The Empire, on their side, also feels the tension. Their leadership meets inside a large chamber, discussing the next step. Some believe humans will give up eventually, because they think humans dislike conflict. Others think humans are only confident because they have allies. And a smaller group worries that humans may be stronger than they appear. They argue about strategy, goals, and the message the Empire must send to the galaxy. But they do not agree on anything. As days pass, the Empire ships begin performing what they call border checks. They move up and down the frontier, watching every small movement humans make. Some of them shine scanning lights onto human vessels. Others move closer than usual, almost touching the borderline. They claim this is standard practice, but the timing and intensity say otherwise. Terran Command responds by shifting more patrol ships into position. These ships are not huge, but they are efficient, clean, and precise. The officers inside them speak calmly to each other, reminding themselves that any sudden action could escalate the situation. They keep their movements smooth, unthreatening, but firm. Their goal is simple: show presence without starting trouble. Human diplomats continue sending peaceful messages to the Empire. They ask for meetings, explanations, and clarifications. They talk about cooperation and understanding. But the Empire avoids giving straight answers. They say they have the right to travel freely. They say human warnings are unnecessary. They act as though Terran space is smaller than a detail on a map. This attitude frustrates many humans living near the frontier. People feel like they are being treated as if their lives don't matter, as if they are too small to protect themselves. One evening, in a small settlement, a group of friends talk about this during dinner. They wonder why the Empire wants this area so badly. They ask each other what they would do if Empire ships suddenly crossed the line. No one has a perfect answer, but one thing is clear: they trust Terran Command to protect them. Meanwhile, inside a Terran strategic room, officers gather around a holographic display. It shows a cluster of Empire ships slowly drifting closer. The room is silent except for the soft sound of machines. After a moment, one officer says, "They're pushing again." Another officer quietly updates the projection. They all know what this means. The Empire wants a reaction, but humans have learned from the past. They decide not to react aggressively. Instead, they increase communication patrols and remind settlers that help is close if needed. They also send one more message to the Empire, politely asking them to reduce their border inspections. The Empire ignores it. A few days later, something happens that raises the tension even higher. An Empire vessel positions itself directly outside a human farming outpost. The ship does not enter human territory, but it sits exactly on the line, unmoving. Its presence feels intentional, like a silent statement: we can come this close whenever we want. The farming outpost sends a worried message to Terran Command. Their screens flicker under the scanning pressure, and their crops inside climate domes respond strangely to the interference. Parents inside the outpost tell their children to stay indoors. Everyone watches the Empire ship through reinforced windows. Terran Command immediately sends a patrol cruiser to stand between the outpost and the Empire vessel. The human cruiser moves calmly, slowly, without aggression. It positions itself like a shield, protecting the outpost. The Empire ship responds by dimming its lights, but does not leave. The two ships float there silently, like two people staring at each other without blinking. It's not a fight, but it feels like one. The message is clear: humans will not allow intimidation, and the Empire refuses to back off. Far away, at another part of the frontier, an Empire scout ship tries a different tactic. It sends a polite message to a human patrol ship, pretending to be friendly. But during the conversation, it starts secretly scanning the human ship's engines and weapons. The human crew notices instantly. They respond with a calm warning. Stop scanning. You are too close to our systems. The Empire ship apologizes and drifts away, but the intention is obvious. Terran Command receives the report. They know the Empire is collecting information, trying to measure human strength. This confirms their suspicion. The Empire is preparing for something bigger. Inside one of the frontier settlements, a young student sits with their grandfather, listening to stories about earlier days when humans first joined the galactic community. The grandfather says something that stays in the student's mind. The galaxy respects those who stand their ground. This sentence becomes a quiet reflection of how many humans feel. Even if they are afraid, they believe humanity cannot afford to appear weak. More Empire ships arrive near the frontier. Not enough to start a conflict, but enough to make everyone uneasy. Terran Command increases watch rotations, adds more patrols, and strengthens communication lines. They begin planning different scenarios. What to do if the Empire crosses the line, how to protect civilians, how to avoid a larger conflict. Human researchers on Earth also begin analyzing the Empire's patterns. They look at ship formations, energy usage, and the timing of each movement. They notice something interesting. The Empire is testing not just human strength, but human patience. They want to see if humans will react out of fear, if they will break their warning, or if they will start making mistakes. But humans don't react impulsively. They remain calm, steady, and united. Every action Terran Command takes is measured, deliberate, and carefully timed. The Empire, however, mistakes this calm for weakness. They continue pushing. Another ship drifts close to a human trading route. A different ship scans a human defense satellite. A few more ships hover at the frontier for hours, as if daring humans to stop them. Each incident adds pressure. Frontier settlers breathe a little deeper every time an alert sound plays. Patrol. Ships double-check their positions. Terran Command meets more frequently, studying new maps and preparing for whatever may come next. And something happens that changes the atmosphere. A minor misunderstanding during a patrol almost causes a collision between a human vessel and an Empire ship. No damage happens, no one gets hurt, and communications remain polite. But the moment is enough to make everyone realize how fragile the situation has become. Terran Command watches this closely. The Empire sees it as another small test, but for humans, it confirms that the frontier is reaching a breaking point. EV begins with the tension around the frontier reaching a new level. For weeks, humans had watched the Empire move cautiously, testing boundaries, sending messages, scanning the frontier, and making small, calculated moves. But now it is clear to everyone that the Empire is preparing for something more serious. People living along the frontier can feel it in subtle ways. The usual hum of ships and satellites seems heavier. Every scanner ping, every ship passing, feels more important. Even the stars seem to shine a little differently through the thick layers of observation. One morning, a message arrives at a human outpost from an Empire cruiser. Its tone is polite, almost formal, but it carries an unmistakable undercurrent. They claim the ship has accidentally crossed into human-protected space, calling it a navigational mistake. On the surface, it sounds harmless, but every officer and crew member watching the message knows it is not a mistake. The ship is in the exact position to draw a reaction from humans, and the timing is precise. Inside the control room of the outpost, officers gather around glowing screens. They review the ship's position, its previous movements, and sensor readings. The room is quiet except for the soft hum of computers. One officer finally speaks, breaking the silence. They want us to act, they say. Another officer nods slowly, staring at the holographic display of the Empire cruiser. If we fire, it's war. If we do nothing, they'll think we're weak. Either way, this changes everything. Meanwhile, the Empire's leadership is confident. They are certain humans will either panic or retreat. Their diplomats argue about the wording of messages, the placement of ships, and the possible reactions from Terran command. Many of them underestimate human discipline and patience. They do not realize that humans do not act out of fear. They act out of strategy, preparation, and a deep understanding of what is at stake. Back at the frontier, Terran command receives the message from the Empire cruiser. They do not panic. Instead, they analyze the situation carefully. Every sensor reading, every ship trajectory, and every communication is reviewed. After confirming that the cruiser has indeed entered human space, Terran command responds in a calm, firm manner. A clear broadcast is sent across all channels. You are trespassing. Return immediately. This is the final notice. The simplicity of the message is deliberate. There is no anger, no aggression, no emotional language. Just a firm statement of fact. Humans know that any sign of panic or haste could encourage the Empire to push further. Their approach is measured, calm, and precise, qualities that have become a hallmark of Terran command over the years. The Empire receives the message and reacts with surprise. Many leaders expected a panicked or emotional reply. They expected humans to either apologize, retreat, or make a mistake in communication. Instead, they find a composed, unwavering stance. Confusion spreads in their ranks. Some begin to whisper that humans are stronger than they appear, though others dismiss it as caution. The Empire cruiser does not retreat immediately. It hovers near the frontier, testing once more, scanning human ships and settlements. Sensors sweep over human systems, checking for weaknesses and attempting to measure the strength of Terran forces. But humans have anticipated this. The patrol ships of Terran command maintain their positions in formation, calm but alert. They do not fire, do not make sudden maneuvers, and do not give the Empire cruiser a reason to escalate the situation. 4. The settlers and workers on the frontier. The tension is almost unbearable. Children hide in small rooms with their parents. Miners pause their work to watch distant scanners. And teachers stop lessons to observe the quiet warnings on communication channels. Every person on the frontier, no matter their role, feels the weight of what is happening. They have learned to trust Terran command, but trust does not remove fear entirely. A small group of engineers aboard a human patrol ship watches the Empire cruiser silently. They are trained to handle emergencies, to act instantly if needed, but they have been ordered to hold their positions. One engineer speaks softly, almost to himself. They think this is intimidation. They don't understand humans. His words hang in the air, unnoticed by most of the crew, but they carry a quiet truth about the human spirit. Meanwhile, in the Empire's command chamber, whispers of doubt begin to spread. Some leaders question the wisdom of pushing humans too far. They have absorbed many civilizations without resistance before, but humans are different. They adapt quickly, think strategically, and are willing to act decisively when their boundaries are crossed. The quiet advisor, who has watched humans for years, speaks again. This is not a bluff. If they act, it will be precise and overwhelming. We must be careful. But as usual, many of the other leaders ignore the warning. Back on the frontier, Terran command makes a subtle but critical move. They deploy a controlled electronic pulse near the Empire cruiser, carefully calibrated to temporarily freeze non-essential systems on the ship. The pulse is not intended to harm anyone. It is a demonstration of capability. The Empire cruiser stops abruptly in space, sensors flickering under the human pulse. For a moment, the Empire leadership cannot believe what they are seeing. Humans, small and young in galactic terms, have technology capable of controlling their ships without firing a single shot. This moment becomes a turning point. Terran Command broadcasts one more simple, firm message to the Empire. Do not test our resolve. Return to your own space immediately. Any further action will be met with full defense measures. The Empire cruiser, for the first time, hesitates. The calm precision of humans has created uncertainty. They do not understand the full extent of human capabilities or strategy. The quiet, measured way Terran Command has responded makes them rethink their assumption that humans can be intimidated. For people living on the frontier, this situation is tense but inspiring. Parents watch their children and realize the importance of the line Terran Command is holding. Miners, traders, and engineers feel a sense of pride in knowing that they are part of a civilization willing to defend its people without unnecessary violence. Even small acts, like maintaining calm in the face of intimidation, give everyone a sense of belonging to something greater. In the days that follow, the Empire's commanders meet repeatedly to decide their next steps. They discuss fleets, strategies, and possible provocations, but Terran Command's calm and effective response has shaken their confidence. They realize that humans do not act impulsively. Humans act with purpose, and their purpose is clear: protect their boundaries at all costs. Terran Command, meanwhile, quietly reinforces the frontier. They increase patrols, position ships in subtle defensive formations, and ensure communication lines remain open. But they do all of this without appearing aggressive. Every move is calculated, designed to maintain peace while sending a clear message. Humans will not allow trespassers into their space. At a small outpost near the frontier, a young trader looks at the distant lights of the Empire cruiser. For days, it has hovered in a way that feels like a silent challenge. The trader recalls stories from old galactic conflicts and wonders how different this situation is. But in his heart, he feels trust in Terran Command and pride in humanity's careful, strategic stand. Over the next week, minor skirmishes of information occur. The Empire tests electronic systems, sends additional messages, and positions scout ships at different points along the frontier. Each time, humans respond with calm precision, blocking interference without aggression, and sending clear messages of restraint and authority. Slowly, the Empire begins to understand that they are not dealing with a small or weak civilization. Inside Terran Command, officers and analysts study every move, learning from each encounter. They refine strategies, adjust patrol patterns, and coordinate with settlements. Every decision is made to protect lives and ensure the Empire cannot claim even a small advantage. The officers know that the strength of humanity is not in raw force alone, but in unity, discipline, and the ability to act decisively when necessary. As the standoff continues, settlers and workers across the frontier begin to notice something remarkable. The calm and steady response of humans gives them confidence. They start to feel safer, despite the Empire's presence. Children return to their lessons, miners continue their work, and families walk outside their shelters. The example of Terran Command shows them that courage is not loud. It is consistent, deliberate, and measured. Finally, the Empire makes a decision. For the first time, hesitation overtakes arrogance. The Empire realizes that crossing into human-protected space would provoke a response they cannot fully predict. They do not understand human capabilities or limits, and the risk of serious consequences grows with every passing day. The leadership debates whether to retreat, but the quiet advisor reminds them of the evidence. Humans have shown calm, precision, and restraint. Yet they have already demonstrated the ability to control and disable their ships without firing. The Empire begins to pull back, though slowly and cautiously. They maintain appearances of strength, but retreat from direct trespassing. Terran Command monitors every movement, ensuring the withdrawal is complete. The frontier remains secure. In the settlements, people feel relief but also pride. They have witnessed a remarkable stand by their civilization, one that did not rely on fear or brute force. Begins in the weeks after the first tense standoff with the Empire. The frontier is no longer a quiet line of stars. It has become the focus of careful observation, planning, and preparation. Terran Command knows that this moment is critical. The Empire has learned that humans are not easily intimidated, but humans also know that the Empire will not stop testing boundaries. It is time to show not just resolve, but organization and strength, the kind of strength that does not rely on aggression, but on precise and disciplined defense. At the human outposts, workers and settlers notice the change immediately. Ships no longer drift casually between stations. Patrols follow clear patterns, scanning and monitoring every possible movement. Small settlements that once relied on local security now see larger fleets passing by, moving in formations that are unfamiliar to outsiders. Even for the people living in these areas, the sight is impressive. They do not feel threatened. They feel protected. The knowledge that Terran Command is watching and prepared gives them a quiet sense of pride. The human fleet that arrives at the frontier is not enormous in number, but every ship is clean, functional, and meticulously maintained. Each vessel has a crew trained for precision and teamwork rather than reckless heroics. They are not flashy or aggressive. They are steady, disciplined, and ready for any situation. Their movement is slow and deliberate, yet every officer and crew member knows the significance of their formation. They are here to demonstrate a human fact that the Empire will not forget. Humanity protects its own with clarity, patience, and unwavering discipline. As the fleet spreads across the frontier, its formation is unlike anything the Empire has encountered before. There is no chaos, no unnecessary show of force, no random patrols. Every ship is in its exact position, creating a straight, unbroken line that stretches across the sector. From a distance, the human fleet looks like a wall of stars, silent, calm, and impenetrable. Those observing from Empire ships or distant stations sense immediately that this is not a bluff. Humans are capable of organization on a scale that rivals even the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Inside one of the human command vessels, officers move quietly between stations, reviewing sensors, communication lines, and fleet positions. They speak softly, not because they are afraid, but because calm focus is essential. Every decision is carefully considered. A navigator checks calculations again and again, while communications officers monitor Empire channels, ready to respond with clarity and precision. Even the smallest gesture matters. A single wrong move could provoke an escalation that no one wants, so every action is measured. Meanwhile, the Empire watches closely. Their leaders gather in chambers of glass and metal, arguing over what they see. Some still underestimate humans, believing that the line of ships is only a temporary display, a bluff to scare them away. Others whisper warnings about the unexpected efficiency and organization of Terran forces. The quiet advisor who has been observing humans for years tries to convince the others to be cautious. These are not reckless children, the advisor says. These are humans. They will defend their frontier with purpose, patience, and unity. Do not underestimate them. Some listen, some ignore, but the message has been sent. At the frontier outposts, ordinary people notice small details that speak volumes about human strategy. Sensors on every station are aligned with the fleet, communication signals are steady and reliable, and even small shuttle movements are synchronized. Farmers, traders, and engineers feel a deep sense of reassurance. For the first time, many of them realize how much preparation and thought has gone into defending them. They feel pride in belonging to a civilization that protects its people, not by intimidation alone, but through planning and unity. One afternoon, a small team aboard a human cruiser scans an Empire scout ship drifting near the frontier. They do not fire. There is no aggression. Instead, they maintain a steady presence, monitoring every movement of the ship, making sure it cannot interfere with the line of defense. The Empire crew aboard that scout ship is surprised. They expected humans to react with fear, panic, or anger. Instead, they encounter calm, precise observation. The message is clear. Humans do not need to threaten. They simply protect, and that is enough. On the frontier itself, children in small settlements watch the formation of the human fleet through school simulators or observation domes. They do not fully understand the politics or strategy, but they sense the strength and care behind every movement. Parents feel a quiet relief, knowing their families are watched over by a civilization willing to act decisively without creating unnecessary danger. Even ordinary workers feel a renewed sense of purpose. The human presence is not just military, is symbolic, a reminder that the frontier is safe for now because people care enough to defend it. Back on the human command ship, officers plan for contingencies. They calculate different scenarios. What happens if the Empire attempts to cross the line, if one ship malfunctions, or if communication is disrupted? Every scenario has a plan, and every plan is designed to protect lives while minimizing unnecessary conflict. For humans, defense is not about attacking first. It is about creating conditions where the enemy knows that crossing the line is too risky to consider. This philosophy runs through every decision and every movement of the fleet. The Empire's attempts to intimidate continue, but now they face the human line directly. Ships drift closer to test human reactions, send probing communications, and perform electronic scans. Each time, Terran Command responds with subtle adjustments in formation, gentle electronic pulses to block interference, and calm communication reminding the Empire of the boundaries. They never overreact, but every time the Empire encounters human resistance, it is precise, measured, an undeniable dot in one small human outpost. A group of engineers gathers around a communication screen. A scout ship from the Empire drifts near, scanning for weaknesses. The engineers monitor, adjust signal shielding, and observe the calm efficiency of their patrol ships as they move in formation. One of the engineers smiles quietly and says, "They don't realize it yet. This is the human way. We don't panic, we don't shout, we protect." His colleagues nod, and the quiet reassurance spreads among them. The Empire observes, confused. Some leaders begin to doubt their initial assumptions. They expected humans to react with fear, with haste, or with poorly coordinated measures. Instead, they see a civilization that acts like clockwork, unified, focused, and entirely predictable in its purpose, but unpredictable in its capability. For the first time, the Empire begins to wonder whether humans can be challenged at all. Meanwhile, small interactions along the frontier demonstrate the human principle of protective efficiency. A minor navigation error occurs on a trading ship near the line. Normally, such a mistake might provoke panic. Instead, human patrol ships immediately guide the trader to a safe path while maintaining their defensive formation. The Empire observes this coordination and realizes that human strength is not just in firepower. It is in communication, trust, and disciplined coordination. At night, the frontier looks peaceful. Stars glimmer above, but every ship outpost and station is part of a larger network of observation and protection. Families sleep inside secure domes, children rest peacefully, and workers resume their routines. The human fleet floats silently in the dark space, unbroken and steady, a wall of purpose stretching across the sector. For the Empire, the lesson is becoming clear. The humans are not reckless. They do not act out of fear. They do not need to threaten, because their presence and discipline alone send a message. Crossing the human line is not worth the risk. Their precision, coordination, and patience are forms of strength that cannot easily be challenged. Terran Command continues monitoring, making small adjustments, and ensuring that every ship maintains its role in the line. Officers review reports, update strategies, and communicate quietly but firmly with outposts along the frontier. They remain calm and composed, fully aware that their actions are being observed not only by the Empire, but also by other civilizations, who are starting to take note of human discipline. In small settlements, ordinary people begin to feel more confident. Traders resume normal routes, miners work longer shifts, and teachers continue lessons with children. There is still tension. Everyone knows the Empire has not gone away, but the human line is a constant reminder that they are protected. Humans are not reckless or aggressive. They are deliberate, prepared, and united. By the end of the week, even the Empire begins to respect the human line. Their commanders realize that no simple test or maneuver will break Terran Command's discipline. They do not yet retreat completely, but they proceed with more caution, avoiding unnecessary provocation. Terran Command's steady presence has turned the frontier into a symbol. Humans defend their own not through chaos or aggression, but through order, preparation, and calm determination. The frontier remains quiet for now, but the human line has changed everything. Humans have demonstrated that strength is not always about size or overwhelming force. Sometimes it is about organization, patience, and the quiet courage to stand firm while protecting what matters most. Other civilizations begin to take notice. Even those far from the frontier whisper about the humans who do not strike fur. Begins with the frontier calm but tense, like the surface of a lake just before a storm. Weeks of careful preparation, patrols, and subtle maneuvers have brought the human fleet to a point where it is not only a defense line, but a statement. Every ship is in its precise position, every crew member aware of their duty, and every settlement feeling the quiet protection that only discipline can provide. The Empire knows the humans will defend their space, but they still wonder how far. Terran Command is willing to go. The standoff begins early one morning, with the soft light of distant suns reflecting off the human ships. The Empire has positioned a number of its vessels just outside the frontier, scanning, probing, and attempting subtle intimidation. But humans respond not with aggression, but with careful observation. Sensors monitor every movement, communication. Lines are steady, and patrol ships shift slightly to reinforce weak points in the line. It is a demonstration of calm, controlled strength that the Empire has never seen before. Settlers on the frontier notice the change immediately. Children look up from their lessons at the soft glow of nearby ships. Parents glance at scanners while preparing meals, and miners pause to check distant readings. There is still tension, but a sense of safety has replaced panic. People feel the quiet assurance that comes when you know someone is watching over you, not recklessly, but with precision and care. Inside a human command ship, officers gather around holographic displays. Lines of blue light represent human ships. Clusters of red dots indicate the Empire's vessels. The officers speak softly, but with authority, reviewing movements, discussing potential scenarios, and adjusting positions subtly. Every adjustment is made to protect life and property, not to provoke. The goal is simple: defend the frontier without unnecessary escalation. Meanwhile, the Empire's commanders become restless. Weeks of testing, probing, and subtle pressure have failed to shake the humans. Some begin to worry that the calm discipline of Terran Command is not bluffing. They see the efficiency, the precision, and the unity of the human fleet. They hear the reports from scouts. Humans have monitored every movement, countered every attempt to interfere with their systems, and maintained perfect order under pressure. The quiet advisor warns once more. Humans are patient, but deliberate. They do not act recklessly, and they do not need to. Their strength is in their discipline. The Empire decides to escalate, testing the limits of human patience. A group of their ships moves closer to the frontier, just enough to appear threatening. Sensors on human ships detect the movement immediately, and a clear warning is broadcast. You are entering protected space. Any further incursion will be met with full defensive measures. The Empire ignores it, continuing their slow approach. Patrol. Ships shift in response, moving between the Empire vessels and human settlements. Crew members watch quietly, ready to act if necessary, but following orders to remain calm and measured. The humans are demonstrating that strength does not require aggression. It requires preparation, coordination, and resolve. Settlers begin to feel the tension personally. Families huddle in secure areas, watching the sky with a mixture of worry and pride. Traders delay shipments along risky routes. Miners check their equipment more carefully, and even children sense the importance of the moment. Stories spread quietly among the outposts. Humans are standing firm, and the Empire is learning that intimidation does not work. Inside the Empire, uncertainty grows. Some leaders still advocate testing human resolve further, but doubt has taken root. The calm, organized, and precise actions of Terran command have forced the Empire to reconsider their approach. The quiet advisor points out that humans do not overreact. They do not panic. Their actions are consistent and effective, and they have already demonstrated capabilities that the Empire cannot fully measure. The standoff continues for several days, each side watching the other carefully. The human fleet maintains perfect formation, adjusting positions subtly in response to Empire movements. Scouts and sensors relay every detail, while officers in the command ship analyze patterns and predict possible strategies. Every human decision is deliberate, precise, and calculated to maintain safety and send a clear message. The frontier is not to be crossed. On the frontier, ordinary people watch quietly, absorbing the tension without panic. Families maintain routines as much as possible. Children go to school. Workers continue mining and repairs, and traders organize shipments. Life continues, but with the knowledge that humans are prepared to defend themselves, and that Terran command has the situation under control. At one point, an Empire vessel attempts a subtle maneuver, drifting closer to a human outpost than usual. Sensors detect the movement immediately. A human cruiser moves calmly into position, not firing, not signaling aggression, but simply acting as a shield between the outpost and the Empire vessel. The cruiser's presence sends a message that words cannot. Humans are ready, precise, and not easily provoked. Inside the Empire, officers begin to discuss withdrawal. They recognize that any direct incursion could trigger a response they cannot fully predict. They realize that humans are not reckless, that they have patience, and that they can act decisively when needed. The standoff has shifted from a test of courage to a recognition of competence. Back on the frontier, settlements adjust to the long days of tension. Patrols are coordinated, communication systems are optimized, and civilians follow the guidance provided by Terran command. People begin to understand the lesson being demonstrated. Strength is not always loud or aggressive. It is calm, deliberate, and backed by unity. Humans are showing that their protection does not require violence, only preparation and discipline. During the standoff, small events highlight human efficiency. A minor navigational error occurs on a transport ship. Normally, this could have caused confusion or even a minor incident. Instead, human patrols guide the ship safely, maintaining the overall defensive formation. Another event occurs when a scout ship from the Empire scans a human station. Sensors immediately detect the scan, and a precise electronic pulse disrupts only the scanning systems without causing harm. The message is unmistakable. Humans are capable and controlled. Every minor interaction sends a lesson to the Empire. Humans are not reckless. They are not impulsive, and they do not panic. Their strength lies in preparation, coordination, and the quiet courage to stand firm without unnecessary action. The Empire begins to respect this, even if they do not fully admit it. As days pass, the tension of the standoff begins to weigh on both sides. Empire officers grow frustrated by the humans' calm efficiency. Humans remain disciplined, continuously monitoring, adjusting, and protecting the frontier. Settlers on the frontier feel pride in their civilization, watching carefully as their leaders and crews demonstrate what it means to protect without aggression. A critical moment arrives when an Empire scout attempts another approach near a populated outpost. Human patrols shift immediately, creating a subtle but clear barrier. No weapons are fired, no alarms raised beyond what is necessary, yet the message is clear. The line is not to be crossed. The Empire scouts retreat, understanding that humans are willing to act decisively and precisely if provoked. By the end of the week, it becomes clear that the standoff has reached a plateau. The Empire is cautious, hesitant to make any further aggressive moves, and begins to withdraw slightly from the frontier line. Humans maintain their positions, continuously watching, ready to respond if needed, but with no desire to provoke. The settlements feel safer, the fleet remains a symbol of disciplined protection, and the galaxy begins to take note of humanity's unique approach to defense. For the first time, the frontier settlers begin to see themselves not as vulnerable, but as part of a civilization capable of holding its own. Children play near observation domes, families prepare meals without fear, and workers return to routines with confidence. Humans have shown that courage is not loud, that strength does not require aggression, and that unity and discipline can create security without chaos. The standoff ends not with an explosion, but with recognition. Terran command has proven the frontier is secure. The Empire has been tested, and they have learned the lesson about underestimating humans. The calm, precise, and disciplined actions of humanity have created a new reality. The frontier is not a place to be trespassed lightly. Even as ships return to routine patrols and outposts resume normal operations, the effect of the standoff lingers. The frontier is no longer just a border. It is a symbol of human strength, strategy, and careful courage. Humans have shown that protecting one's home does not require reckless action. It requires preparation, unity, and the ability to act with precision when necessary. Begins with the frontier finally quiet, though the air remains thick with tension. Weeks of careful observation, measured patrols, and disciplined positioning have brought humanity to a turning point. Terran command has shown the galaxy, and especially the Empire, that humans are not reckless, cannot be intimidated easily, and will protect their space and people with precision, patience, and unity. The Empire now faces a difficult choice. Their scouts report that every human position is secure, every patrol coordinated, and every settlement protected. Their attempts to probe or intimidate have been met not with aggression, but with calm, effective countermeasures. Every move they make is observed and neutralized without unnecessary violence. For the first time, Empire leaders begin to doubt their assumptions about humans. Inside their command chamber, debates rage. Some commanders argue that humans will eventually tire or make mistakes, that a well-timed strike could break the line. Others caution restraint, noting the humans' disciplined response to every challenge, their precise technology, and their unity across multiple settlements and fleet formations. The quiet advisor, who has long studied humans, reminds the Empire that human patience is not weakness. They have stood firm for weeks without fire, without panic, and without error. If they act, it will be decisive and unavoidable. Meanwhile, on the human side, Terran Command continues its calm routine. Patrols maintain perfect formations, scouts monitor every movement, and communication lines remain open and clear. Settlements along the frontier resume normal activities gradually, though everyone remains aware of the past tensions. Children play, traders move goods along secure routes, miners return to the fields, and families prepare meals while keeping an eye on sensors and communication screens. Life continues, strengthened by confidence in the human defense. One day, a critical communication arrives from the Empire. The message is formal, almost hesitant, requesting a meeting with Terran Command. They do not demand entry. They do not threaten. The tone is cautious. Humans gather their leaders and advisors to prepare. Every precaution is taken, but there is no panic. Terran Command knows that this is the moment of recognition. The Empire is acknowledging that humans cannot be underestimated. The meeting takes place on neutral ground, in a small, empty sector carefully prepared for security and on communication. Human representatives arrive in a small convoy, calm and deliberate. Empire vessels approach slowly, keeping a respectful distance, aware that any sudden move could provoke an immediate human response. The scene is tense, but controlled. Every gesture, every word, every movement communicates restraint, professionalism, and authority. The discussion begins with greetings and formalities. The Empire speaks first, acknowledging the humans' capabilities, their disciplined response, and the unity displayed across the frontier. Humans respond simply emphasizing the need for clear boundaries and the importance of mutual respect. No threats are made. No aggressive language is used. Instead, the conversation focuses on understanding, ensuring the safety of the frontier, and preventing future incidents. Over the next hours, both sides negotiate quietly but firmly. Humans make their position clear. The frontier is protected. Space trespassing is unacceptable, and attempts to intimidate will always be met with calm but decisive resistance. The Empire, in turn, expresses acknowledgement of human strength, while carefully avoiding admission of error. The tone remains cautious, careful, and precise. No one raises their voice. The exchange is not about dominance. It is about recognition and understanding. During the talks, human officers demonstrate some of the technologies and coordination, methods that allowed them to maintain the standoff without aggression. Empire leaders observe carefully, realizing that humans had not only defended the frontier, but had done so in ways that left no openings for mistakes. Electronic pulses, sensor networks, patrol coordination, and communication protocols are all shown with quiet pride. The Empire sees the full extent of what humans can do, and the realization begins to sink in. Humans cannot be intimidated or pushed aside. Settlers and workers along the frontier watch reports of the meeting unfold, though they are not part of it directly. Even from a distance, they sense the significance. Families gather around communication consoles. Children pause from their lessons, and traders stop their work to listen. The message is clear. Humans have held their ground, protected their homes, and been recognized by one of the galaxy's largest powers. The Empire finally agrees to a new understanding. They will respect the frontier, avoid unauthorized incursions, and negotiate openly if any issues arise. Humans, in turn, maintain vigilance, continue patrols, and ensure that the line remains secure. The standoff ends not with violence, but with acknowledgement, respect, and a new balance of power. On the frontier, celebrations are quiet but meaningful. Workers resume normal routines with a sense of pride, knowing that they were part of a civilization that successfully defended itself. Without aggression, families gather together, children laugh freely again, and settlements feel a renewed sense of safety. Terran Command has not only protected lives, but has reinforced the principle that human strength lies in unity, patience, and deliberate action. Officers aboard human ships reflect on the long weeks of tension. They have learned lessons about observation, restraint, and strategic response. Every decision, every patrol, every signal was part of a greater plan to protect people without unnecessary risk. Their success is measured not in destruction, but in preservation of life, of property, and of human dignity. In the Empire, the lessons are also being absorbed. Leaders debate quietly, recognizing that underestimating humans could have been catastrophic. They acknowledge that humans' combination of patience, technology, and unity makes them a formidable force, not through sheer aggression, but through careful preparation and deliberate action. The galaxy begins to take notice, and whispers spread. Among distant civilizations, humans are not to be ignored, provoked, or underestimated. The frontier itself returns to relative calm. Ships move steadily along patrol routes, settlements function smoothly, and communication channels hum with routine messages. But the memory of the standoff remains. Every person living there knows the significance of what was accomplished. Humanity has proven that strength is not always loud, that courage does not always require violence, and that preparation, patience, and unity can overcome threats far larger than themselves. A few weeks later, news spreads throughout the galaxy about the frontier's standoff. Humans are recognized as a disciplined and capable civilization. Reports highlight not only their technological capability, but also their strategic intelligence and calm under pressure. Even distant civilizations begin to respect humans, understanding that attempts to intimidate or provoke will meet not panic, but deliberate and precise response. In small settlements along the frontier, people tell stories of the standoff. Children learn about the courage of their parents and the skill of their leaders. Traders recount how calm and steady coordination prevented disaster. Engineers describe the importance of preparation and observation. Every story emphasizes one central truth: humanity's strength is in its unity, patience, and deliberate courage. Command continues its work, ensuring that the frontier remains secure. Patrols remain vigilant, communication lines stay clear, and settlements continue to operate under protection. Humans have shown that defense does not require reckless action, that protecting life and property is possible through careful planning and discipline. The frontier becomes more than a border. It becomes a symbol of human determination and strategic capability. For the Empire, the memory of the standoff influences future interactions. They approach negotiations with humans more cautiously, respect the established boundaries, and avoid unnecessary provocations. Even though they are far larger in terms of history and scale, the Empire has learned that humans cannot be underestimated. The quiet courage, careful planning, and disciplined action of humanity have left a lasting impression. Settlers, workers, and families along the frontier continue with their lives, now imbued with confidence. Children play freely under safe skies. Traders resume their journeys, and miners work without the constant shadow of fear. The people have witnessed a civilization acting with integrity and calm determination, showing that real strength lies not in aggression, but in preparation, unity, and courage. Terran Command reflects quietly on the journey. Every officer, analyst, and crew member understands the importance of what has been accomplished. The frontier is secure, lives are protected, and humanity has been recognized across the galaxy, not through domination, but through measured, deliberate action. The standoff has not only preserved space and life, it has reshaped the perception of humanity itself. In the end, the frontier remains a quiet line of stars, but it is now also a line of human resolve. The Empire respects it. Other civilizations take notice, and humans have learned the ultimate lesson. Protection is not only about weapons, size, or aggression. It is about unity, patience, preparation, and the courage to act decisively when necessary. This lesson, learned through weeks of careful tension and measured action, will define humanity's place in the galaxy for years to come. The story of the Frontiers standoff spreads coup.